Hi, welcome back to the podcast School of Love, where we want to help you create parent child relationships where you can talk about everything, especially sex. Today, I invited two wonderful moms who have created something that they saw missing in their lives, a community. And why do we need a community? Well, I've realized myself, I really need more people to share with. Parenting comes with so many huge ups and huge downs. And those are things that we get through a lot better when we share about them. And we don't always find those people to really share with. Of course, a spouse is really great to share with. I definitely encourage it. But it also helps to have a good friend who isn't so tightly connected to the situation at home. And this is something I talk about with these two wonderful ladies. And I hope it really helps you to look around your environment or surroundings, not just your environment. I'm not talking about trees or grass or something. I'm talking about people, someone that you really trust or can connect with, and think about sharing even more deeply with them. So I hope this episode gives you some ideas on how to do that and have fun. So, hi and welcome everyone. I am here today with Deborah Kali and another new last name that I can't pronounce yet, and also Lynnda Houston. But maybe you guys can introduce yourselves, starting with Deborah and your new last name.
Yeah. So yeah, I have two surnames now. Deborah Kali and then Matsugane is my husband's name. I am a mindfulness coach at the moment, and I'm so happy to be here.
Nice
And
to
my
have
name
you.
is Lynnda Houston, and I am a life coach, rapid results coach. I have founded a company called Inner Wellness Coaching, and yeah, so happy to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you, beautiful ladies, with me. And so you guys have started something new this year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Or
mean
it's been
officially, yes. Yeah,
officially
officially,
this
yes.
it's
year?
been in the works for a bit, but yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say it's been in the works for maybe the last 2 years, actually, but this year we've been more public with it, like more marketing and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, and so if I'm allowed to say the name first, you guys have made Mom's Village. And I also love that you call it village and not Mom's City or I don't know, Mom Country. Because village, it really is showing the closeness of a small community. And yeah, so what is Mom's Village?
Who should start talking about it?
Whoever feels.
Linda?
Okay, I can start. Well, it for us it really came from a place of looking at what we needed as moms and what we felt was missing. And for me, I have two kids. My oldest one is almost 6, and then I have a 2-year-old who's basically the same age as Deborah's kid. So we were pregnant together, and then, watched, or like we're still watching our kids grow up and like sharing our experiences together. But for me, like from the very beginning of becoming a mom, I just felt so overwhelmed often. And like suddenly, it's like it's such a big shift of just, and you don't know until you're in it. You just don't know what's involved. You don't know the load of the responsibility that
Mhm.
it is to be a mom. And it can feel overwhelming. And there's also a lot of judgment. There's also a lot of people telling you, oh, this is what you should do. And it's easy to fall into comparing yourself with other people on social media, and it just feels like a lot of pressure. And so for me personally, I felt quite isolated, and I felt like, oh, there's this big responsibility, but who can I really share with that understands what I'm going through and who's, compassionate and empathetic and just willing to share tips. And so this is really where it came from. And we started talking about this. Deborah and I, we got to know each other because we're both in coaching, and so we got connected, and we, started sharing tips just around coaching. But then we started sharing more deeply about our actual experiences of daily life as moms, and we realized that this was a point that both of us experienced and that we felt needed, it needed a resolve, and it's something that other mothers experience as well.
Yeah, I think the isolation was a big reason, like a big motivation for us to start this mom's village. What I experienced with my daughter, and I think this is what every mom goes through, like from the moment your baby is born, for the first few months, you're kind of driven to isolation a bit because your baby needs you so much. And there are no regular schedules, there are no opportunities really to plan something out with friends, with your old friends, and it makes it difficult after that time, depending on the baby, how long it takes, to then start again, to communicate and to socialize with others. And especially if you have friends who are not parents, then it's difficult to relate and it's difficult to share experiences, because motherhood changes you so much. And so we really wanted to create a safe space for moms, with children, with small children. That's our focus, because that's where we feel moms need the village the most, and to really create a safe space for them to not only connect with other moms and like share experiences and compare, and sometimes just complain, sometimes we just need to share things out loud, but also for them to get resources. And that's, I feel like, the other key point that is so missed in today's society, because as soon as the baby is born, the whole focus is on that baby, which is good and it's needed. But the mom is often forgotten, and we focus so much on what does the baby need. Did the baby eat enough? Is he going through all these milestones? Is he clean? Is she, growing up well? And we forget the mom also needs to eat well. The mom also needs to socialize, and the mom goes through so many milestones and so much transformation after becoming a mom that's very much overlooked. And so we did want to offer resources for moms also to navigate this phase and to be able to ride the waves rather than kind of drown a little. So yeah, that's a little bit my take.
Yeah, awesome. I love that you guys created what you needed and what you felt was missing. That's so awesome. I think, yeah, that's essentially what a business should really do, is like fill in all these gaps. And yeah, and I feel like I'm really learning just recently now, although I've been a mom for 11 years, um, now I'm really learning about how important it is to invest in my own happiness.
Mm.
I feel like that's also what, I don't know, like coaches or um, like specialists in this field, they're also saying invest into your own happiness, and that will then just magnify with your relationship with your child. And yeah, because they want to see happy parents. And so, yeah, I think that's really great that you guys created that community for that. And yeah, I've also realized in my life that how, okay, so we have our high noon virtues that we're also using in School of Love. And accountability is a big thing. I mean, I don't know how other people feel about this word, but for me, I'm actually feeling like this is meant to be a really joyful thing where you reach out to other people and you share just about yourself. That's why hopefully you have people in your life who are interested in you and you're interested in them, and then you can share where you're at and maybe also where you would like to be in whatever time scale you want to focus on. And I was just thinking, who do I do that with? I don't know if there are so many people. I mean, of course, we have our husbands, and I try to keep him up to date with all of my new ideas. But also, yeah, just having friends also to share with, and especially moms, other moms who are people who are in a similar position as myself. I was thinking that's so valuable. Not only a similar position, but also similar values. Like we're striving for a similar goal or just a similar lifestyle, and to share our different ways of getting there. I feel like, yeah, this has kind of been missing in my life, and I want to build it up more. So, and what you're doing sounds like the perfect place to do that.
Yeah, I feel like it's really like our original idea was to extend the friendship we have, me and Lynnda, like to extend it to others, because we somehow found each other recently now as adults. You know, we haven't known each other since childhood or something. But we once we connected as moms, then you know, even now we're talking every day. We send each other like infinite voice notes and compare things and like share our experiences. And this is so valuable. This is how like so many times I got out of difficult situations, you know, just being able to share and like difficult emotions to get them out. And you know, like we just really wanted to extend this friendship to others.
Yeah, exactly. And those voice notes that we send every day, they're just so valuable. And, you know, like you said, whatever we're going through, like if it's a difficulty in our relationship with our husbands or something with our kids, like we can share about it and we don't feel judged at all. And, you know, it's just, and also sometimes it's hard with a phone call because, you know, things happen when we have busy schedules and sometimes it's hard to synchronize. But then with a voice note, then can easily just grasp or like share whatever is going on in that moment. So yeah, and I think like something that we say often in regards to our village is like most people they know the expression "it takes a village to raise a child," but what we say it takes a village to be mom, and it's this idea that you know because the responsibility is so big and it's really the most important job in the world. Um, you're literally raising humans, right? You need that support, but there's not the recognition in society and you know other people. Like you rarely hear people talk about, "Ooh, oh, your mother, wow!" It's like well done, like what an accomplishment, or like you're doing so well, just for being a mom. It's like you don't get that recognition. It's just like, oh, you have an endless list of things to do. Suddenly the household chores is like your responsibility, or, you know, that's often the case. And there's just so many things. So to be able to have a village and a place to go, even if it's digital, like obviously it's a digital platform, we have these monthly sharing circles. So to be able to connect with other moms who are in that same situation and just share where you're at is just, yeah, priceless.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, those good old voice notes are so convenient.
Yeah.
I used to think like, oh, I don't want to do those because I don't like hearing my voice. But I've started doing it more and more. I mean, it's just so practical, and um, yeah, it can also be fun and a good way to keep in touch. And sometimes typing takes so much longer. But yeah, like, do you guys have any examples you'd like to share of some sort of tough time one of you were going through, and then how just sharing with each other or with your group or someone just helped you to get through that tough time?
I feel like it's almost every day, but there are ups and downs, right? I feel like what it's almost like what keeps us from getting to the point of having incredibly difficult times is the connection, is the relationship. So when we share about the small things, we prevent, right, getting into bigger troubles, bigger emotions, and more difficult situations. We often talk about the situation with our daughters now. They're 2.5, you know, they're restless, they are very in the no phase, you know, and it can be, for me especially, it's been a little difficult to not get angry, you know, and to have to keep myself into the state of being calm, and you know, I'm the parent and I shouldn't get angry and get down at her level, right? And just sharing out loud the crazy things that, you know, my daughter does, or like the impossible situations that she puts me through with Lynnda, then it helps me to get those things out of my chest, and then I'm able to stay calm, with my daughter. Which is, I want to say, like, yes, we do have husbands. They're lovely husbands. They're great, and we do share with them a lot. But sometimes, because we are both present in the situation, like as husband and wife with our daughter, it's a bit difficult to manage emotions in that context. And so sharing with somebody who is outside of the picture can, first of all, help you to see things from a different perspective, something you might have not thought of. But it also kind of, from my perspective, like, I can share with Lynnda anything because I know that there is no direct consequence inside my house from, sharing with her. And if I share something difficult or like with my husband, then I know I'll have to continue that relationship afterwards. I'll have to, how to say, continue with the consequences, right? And it's a longer term type of effort, which is fine. And those conversations are needed. But, it's a little different, and it helps
And
a lot.
on the topic of husbands, that's actually, we do share a lot about just our relationships and what's going on, because sometimes it's you bottle up emotions, and sometimes you just need to vent. And I think also often when we talk about these situations that happen, and it can be just miscommunication, or the fact that sometimes it's difficult being a woman and a man in a relationship and understanding each other because we're different. And so it really helps to to talk about it, and to know that, like you, Deborah, you understand my perspective as a woman, but then also we have these conversations like, okay, well, maybe he sees it this way because, remember, like, men, they tend to be like this, or so it's like a good reminder also. And then we can come back to that conversation with our husbands, remembering our differences, and also like the tools that we have of, yeah, just maybe communicating more clearly and more directly, is something that's recurring for Deborah and I, as we share about these situations. How, and I think that this is often the case with women, that we tend to bottle things up, and we tend to just not express clearly what we need. And sometimes we don't even know what we need. Um, and so it really just helps to, and we mentioned this before, but just to share randomly, like, what's going on, and not be judged, and then kind of like have somebody to go back and forth with, to really understand, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I need to do about it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are
But
many
that's something that
times
comes up a lot.
where, sorry, there are many times where what I'm going through, Lynnda has already gone through, or like the opposite, and we share about it. And I feel like this is the value that community provides, right? Just being able to share and see, and just hear other people's experiences. I feel like so many times we feel alone again in motherhood. We feel like we're the only ones experiencing this, or we're not allowed to share with others, because that's wrong, right? But I feel like being honest and open in a safe environment can really provide a lot of support, a lot of, it's almost like therapy, like it's really helpful, and it brings clarity into your own situation, and then you can go to your children or to your husband with that clarity already in mind.
And I can also mention that in these sharing circles, we've had topics in the past of, like, we had the household hurricane was a popular one. And also we had one about relationship that was also one of the most popular ones, where we actually had a relationship expert come on and share about these differences between man and woman. And then we had like question and answer at the end. And yeah, so we've also identified certain topics that we as mothers tend to go through. Another one that we've done quite a few circles around is, where is my support system? And this is something that we've have found with most moms, is that they don't feel that they have a support system. Maybe, they might have a husband, um, but you need a big support system, really. You need a lot of support in different areas as a mother. And it can be in terms of logistics of just like watching your kids. It can be in terms of the household chores. It can be, yeah, there's just so many areas. So we delve into these different topics in the sharing circles, and that's also been really therapeutic and just, yeah, uh, it feels like going to the spa, like having these little circles, like you just share, and then afterwards, like we just get out of these circles so happy, right, Deborah? Like it's always such a joyful experience.
Spa for the mind.
All for the mind and
I
the
think,
soul.
yeah, as moms, we hold up so much emotionally, I feel, because we feel responsible, right? For our children, even for our partners sometimes, that we have to behave a certain way, and there's so much that we keep inside that's important for it to come out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it just came to mind that, yeah, I'm just learning still now, but it's come clear to me that sometimes, our children, they might do something that triggers us, annoys us, or, yeah, I mean, School of Love, the whole topic is keeping this openness about sexuality in the family. And so we want them to be able to come to us if they have seen something, or their friends said something. And the important thing to do is in that situation is to just welcome them in and not react. And that is not always easy. I think it takes practice for sure. But what I also have learned is that this reaction, you don't have to swallow it. You save it for later, and then you share it with someone who is mature and trustworthy. Because your child, they just see your reaction, and then they can only judge by what they are seeing and feeling. And that's usually this feeling of not being loved at that moment. And so they can easily disconnect from you in that moment. So if we just do our best in those situations, but then this reaction that we are holding in, I feel like that's something that you can share in a really trusted group of moms, or also with a spouse. Yeah, this is something that, yeah, I'm still practicing myself.
Yeah, definitely. I like how you are bringing the light to the mom experience now. And it's true, like there's so much that we are constantly having to pay attention to in terms of our behavior, right? And it's so helpful to have a place to let it out, just be yourself, and without judgment, without, it's a safe space where people will understand what you're going through.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned this point about just like what does the mom do with those emotions that she's holding in? I keep seeing these Instagram reels on parenting, and
Mhm.
it's very useful tips, and it's good stuff a lot of time. But like one in particular was talking about how, like you said, like how when you yell at your child, or when yeah, you have these emotions and you're expressing them to your child, and how damaging that is for the child, and how it's harder to fix an adult like later in life, right? And things like that. But I kept on thinking, like from the mom experience, like what about the education for the mom on how to deal with her own emotions, and how to reassure herself, and how to like comfort herself. Like, where is that education? I don't see that so much. I see much more of this like parenting, which often feels a little bit judgmental toward the mom, often. So it's like, this is also something that we want to bring to the table. It's really important for the mom to learn how to take care of her own emotional health in order to be like whole and loving and connected to that part of herself that is connected to her wellness, that already knows that, okay, I'm safe, I'm okay, like I can deal with the tantrum, the like whatever difficult situation, the stress, and I'll be fine. uh, you know, but it's not easy when you're in it. So it's good to have that time away to just like prep yourself, prime yourself for these situations.
Yeah. And to get to that, like feeling open enough to share, like you really need a lot of trust. And I mean, you mentioned that like you guys already have a really great relationship and you wanted to extend that. But otherwise, how do you build up that trust? Like, how can you find those relationships where you feel like, okay, here I can open up myself and I won't be judged, you know? I mean, of course, you guys are offering that platform, but yeah, is there something you can say to moms or dads, like, who are thinking about where to go with something that they need to get off their chest, or they just need to find someone to open up to?
Well, yeah, something came up to me, and you can take after Deborah. But I think we just need to start sharing more about what's going on, about what's really going on, and just kind of trust that that's okay, or um, just give people the opportunity to hear it and to, yeah, just to see what happens next. Because I think a lot of us, and I think especially mothers, we have this tendency to try to be perfect, and we believe that we need to be perfect in our role as mothers, as women, and so we put on a mask, we put on a facade, and we try to do everything right. But I think when we just test, and it can just be little things to start, just to share, oh, actually, last night was really difficult. I didn't sleep much, or whatever, and then to see how the other person responds. Because I don't know specifically how Deborah and I started sharing about these things, but when we first got to know each other, we got to know each other as colleagues, and it was more like a professional relationship. But once we started sharing about motherhood, that's when we got really deep. And, we've cried to each other in these voice notes. And it's like, and that brought us closer. And that's what gave us this great relationship now. So, yeah, I think that's a big piece just to start.
It, it starts with us accepting the fact that perfection doesn't exist, and it's okay to be imperfect. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It doesn't mean you don't love your children. And when I see, like Lynnda mentioned, there is so much content nowadays about the right way to parenting, gentle parenting, conscious parenting, and old style parenting. There's so much information that comes through, and it feels like we can never get it right. And there's so much pressure, right? And it feels to me sometimes we are pushed as parents to like play pretend, like
Mm.
and to hide, the side of us that's the real us, and this is not beneficial for our children either. And so we need to get back to tune into who we really are as a person. It's easy to get lost sometimes in motherhood, like you forget who you really are because you're trying to be that perfect mom, and that can be counterproductive. And so my recommendation is to really kind of tune into yourself, who you really are, because that's what your child needs the most. And of course, we need to try to be better. We need to try to, become better people, better parents. But let's not forget about this special qualities and special personality that's part of us. And like let's pretend a little bit less maybe, and be more real also with our children. I think that's important, and with other parents as well.
You can't force yourself to be something you're not. Like you just have to, like in terms of your own personal growth, you just have to kind of accept where you're at first and embrace and love where you're at, but also know where you're going, and like carry yourself with you there with empathy. You can't like judge your way to growth.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, and also just this pretending to be something you're not, that's actually isolating you even more, right? Because like you said, you're putting a mask on, and it gives you, it's taking so much energy from you to act a certain way that's not coming from you authentically, which unfortunately I think lots of us already learn in school, trying to fit in into different groups, and maybe it just projects on into other parts of our lives, and then again in motherhood, unfortunately. So yeah, I think it's really great if we can really get back into, like you said, Deborah, who are we really?
Mhm.
I just loved with my kids how I could totally be myself. But then I could see, with my kids, I am sometimes quite different than when I'm with other people. You
Mm.
know, I'm really silly and obnoxious. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to not immediately, but slowly close that gap, and, try to open up myself more in front of other people. I mean, part of it was just feeling shy and not yet feeling yeah, like I can open myself with everyone. But yeah, also like you said, Linda, just sharing more. I'm also trying to, like, when people say, "How are you?" I'm really trying to think, how am I? And be honest more these days. I mean, often I am good in the moment, but then there's always an underlining, like a story or a whole
Yeah.
paragraph behind I'm good. There's usually something there. And so, yeah, I'm trying to consider that and share that. Yeah. And like you said, some people then tune in a bit more, and some people might be like, okay, that was too much information for me. And then, a bit, I think you can get a feeling, yeah, who can I share with? And I think that's okay. It's not like it's a bad thing that, yeah, some people might back off a little bit because, I mean, you don't want to, it's not even physically possible to spend so much time with everyone. So it's good if you find just a few people in your life that you really trust and can open yourself to.
Yeah, it's important to know who to share with as well, like you said, right? Because sharing is vulnerable when it comes to real sharing, being yourself with others. And so we should be careful with that as well, like, to not be too exposed with people who we cannot trust, right? But it is important, like you said, to have the little community, the little circle of friends, the little network that can support you and you can be open with. That's for sure.
And just to have that space dedicated specifically for you as a mom is so valuable because that space doesn't exist many places.
Mm.
It's like, it's like, for example, dropping off my kids at daycare. It's actually really nice to bump into the moms and to be like, hey, and even if it's just so short, it's just like a 1 minute interaction, but it is really nice. You just kind of you know what they're going through because they're in similar situations as you. So, when their child, like this morning, a mom was dropping off her child and the child was screaming, but she had to go to work. And so, I said some things of compassion, like, oh yeah, I know it's difficult, but sometimes that's the case. And, just to have this interaction is really valuable. But at the same time, that's not the space to really share, so to have a dedicated time to really be able to have an outlet to share more is also needed.
Yeah. It just brings up this thing to mind. I saw once like a reel or something. You guys, Hunger Games? And
Yeah.
then there's like this one, the main character, I think from her clan or something or district, they have like this symbol. I don't know how it was like
Yeah.
this or something.
Oh
And then
yeah.
I saw once like a mom sees another mom who's there with her tantrum kid
Yeah.
and walks by and she's just like giving her the sign like,
Yeah.
yo, we're in this together and
I
I feel
understand.
you,
Yeah.
And I
That
just love
is
that. I love that because it's like, yeah, we're in this together. It's not like I'm not judging you right now.
Mm.
Because I think that's what a lot of us feel inside. It's like, oh no, what do the others think? And yeah, but no, we're in this together, and that's the whole point. And especially also when our kids grow old, I think a lot of our, hopefully not like no one has directly experienced this here, but yeah, sometimes parents with their older kids like maybe aren't showing how proud they are of them, or, you know, especially if someone has distanced themselves from the church, for example, and then they just don't really talk about them so much. It's because they're thinking, oh no, like what do people think of me? But they are also in it together. You know, like it's unfortunate this wasn't emphasized more at the time, but yeah, like all of these things, it is just like you said, perfection doesn't exist. It's just this is a part of life, and yeah, if we support each other, it's so much more empowering than judging each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is beneficial for the whole family as well. Like we know the mother is, in a sense, the center of the family. We hold everything together emotionally, physically, organizational wise, practically. We have like the mind to do this. That's why women are so special. But that means we have lots also on our shoulders, right? That needs to be processed and dealt with. And so that's why it's so important. I feel like there's so much benefit that comes from when the mom is healthy, and especially emotionally, right, and physically. But even with the relationship with the children, right? You talk about high noon and this open talk about sexuality. That happens also when the mom is in a right mind space, right, to do that, or where the parents are healthy, like emotionally, because this is such a delicate topic. I feel that, it can be difficult to talk about if you have, a lot on your shoulders already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did a boot camp recently now in School of Love, and we were a small group of about 6 parents. And yeah, we met up once a week. And honestly, we didn't talk about how to talk to your kids about sex the whole time. It wasn't really
Mm,
about this. It was a lot more about, yeah, just thinking about myself. Like, okay, what is my culture around sexuality, and how do I want it to be?
mm,
And how can I just start in small steps with my kids, or just make small changes in my family to make this a more open culture rather than a closed one? And it was honestly, I mean, I can just speak for myself. It was an amazing experience. Also, just to see those parents and share with them, and they all also opened themselves up. And yeah, I think that is a lot harder on your own. Um, and just this simple idea of having a time and a day to talk about a specific topic, that, yeah, that's accountability, and it does bring you forward. And so, yeah, I think that can help anybody in any kind of topic to have these people or some sort of group dedicated to talk about whatever topic.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, also, you guys probably experienced sometimes, yeah, people share, but it's like a negative energy, you know?
Mm,
And I know it's also very easy to connect through that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that teacher at kindergarten. Oh, I really don't like her either, you know? And then you do feel a connection, but yeah, like for me, like I wouldn't call it uplifting, you know? And like, yeah, I'm a very empathic person, and so I feel like I can easily really absorb these people's emotions, or also just want to be on their side. But I'm trying to kind of keep my boundaries and also not completely take on their negative energy. And so, how can we make sure we're connecting to an uplifting community rather than, I was thinking it's like a quicksand community where you're slowly sinking down, you know?
Well, for example, in our sharing circles, we try to, because we know that this can be a tendency to just like bond over the negative things, we allow for like 1 minute or 30 seconds of just You can put in the chat if there's something that's going on that you just want to put out there just to get it out of your system or say it. But then the majority of the sharing circle is like sharing questions. So we have already prepared questions in advance on the specific topic, and then people can share about it. Either we do it in the group if it's a smaller group altogether, or we do breakout groups. And then we have fishbowl, where a mother can be at the center of just like saying one topic that's on her mind that's like a pressing concern that she really wants to get resolved. And then the other moms in the sharing circles can just provide tips or just like a solution that comes to mind for that mom, and hopefully help her resolve it on the spot. So that's really nice. And then my favorite is at the very end, we have our minute of empowerment, where we together as a mom, we recite an affirmation that's there to uplift all of us and to just give us energy and rejuvenation, and just remember what we're grateful for as moms and how strong we are, how powerful we are. And it's usually very appreciated inside of our sharing circles.
I think I relate this now as a mom so much. Sometimes you cannot have like an uplifting conversation unless you get out the things that are bothering you first. And so many times with Lynnda, we are in business together and we have to talk about business, but we're like, first I need to complain about this because it's driving me crazy, right? Last night was terrible. And and just getting that out in that environment where like it's well received, and it's almost like then you get this weight off your chest, and then you can move on towards like a better conversation, right? And for moms, we have on top of our minds often, it's always like this complaints, these negative things, and this like struggles that we go through. And unless we get rid of those, then it's difficult to go deeper down into like the beauty of motherhood, right? It's important to know, like, it's for me, at least this is how I see it, like it's okay to complain it. It's okay to be negative at first, and to get with the purpose to get this out of your chest, right? And then we move on how to fix it. If we hold things inside, then they grow deeper and they don't really allow space for better things to come up.
And I don't know if you guys have experienced this. Hopefully I'm not the only one, but my husband, he says that I complain a lot. And in my mind, it's not complaining at all. It's just like sharing a concern or like wanting to resolve something, but then if that's received as complaining, then it's hard to go to the next step of like, okay, how do we fix this actually? Like, what's really going on? So to have somebody to actually understand that, and then move on to the next, like the solution, the positive thing, like what's the silver lining in this, and like what's the positive side, that's is really valuable.
I definitely see the value of getting things off your chest. I think that's important. I mean, it's part of this being authentic and sharing. I guess it's I've noticed I need to be careful when it's more about others. And then like sharing perspectives of other people. That's where I need to draw a line, I guess, for myself, because generally I just I have my positive bubble and I don't want people to pop it. Although I do also see the value in listening to them and letting them also express their feelings.
And there's a difference, I think, between complaining or like sharing what's really going on and like judging maybe somebody else. Like you don't have to really involve somebody else with what's happening with you. So that's more like
that's
gossiping.
True. Complaining is really different. Because your emotions, that's something you feel, and it's not a lie. Like I also have gone over this with my husband. It's like look, I know maybe you didn't mean it this way and it didn't happen to you this way, but this is what I feel, it's just, yeah. And I want to share about it with you genuinely so that it's out. But yeah, you have to really have this safe space, right? Because often these emotions that need to get out are just through a misunderstanding. And yeah, so yeah, within a married relationship, I just try to be intentional about that safe space. But I can see then once again in just with a trusted friend who isn't really connected to that situation, that this space is created just easier because, like you said, Deborah, it's not like they have to work on something with you. You know, it's just getting those emotions out and then you get to work on it in your own time.
Yeah, it helps to gain clarity, I think, as well when talking to others. I do that often with Lynnda, like before getting to have a proper conversation with my husband. I'm like, let me share with her and see how could I possibly see this from different perspectives, right? And so when I then go to my husband, I'm like, I have so much more peace in mind, I have so much more clarity, and the conversation goes better. But I think you mentioned something about earlier, about how to keep like your positivity when others share with you negative situations, right? Or feeling like they're dragging you down. I think that that's when boundaries come into place. We need to be aware of how much can we take. People are vastly different, and we are all grew up in different ways. We have different triggers. We have different things that bother us more or less. And so even within our close friend circle, it's important to know where you stand with each one of them and what are the boundaries that you should be putting or not putting in place. I think that's important for our own well-being as well. And that's a different topic, but I think it does relate to this sense of community because yes, we want to be a community. We all have a community around and we all want to be open and, close. But then there are sometimes situations where that's not good or healthy for us as a person, as an individual. Maybe that person that you feel, is dragging you down is not having the same effect with somebody else, right? But you have to, be aware of what is happening inside of you and if needed, put some boundaries in place, even within your community. I think that's important. Don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's really important.
Yeah, so taboo topics. I mean, you guys shared like when you're doing business together, you first get off like what's really personally going on, right? I mean, it's not necessarily taboo topics, but yeah. Do you think these taboo topics are really like meant to connect us, actually? Like, I think that's also, of course, like you said, Deborah, I think that like we have to be careful. We share with really trusted people, but once we find them and we start sharing about these taboo topics, that's actually, I think it's very liberating. I think, yeah, like we should be sharing more and even also in these areas. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, definitely. So, but just for me to be clear, like what areas are you referring to now specifically?
Like, yeah, like for example, so I don't know how to tell my kids how to be careful with pornography.
Mm.
And then just like these kind of things really about how can we raise our kid to just be aware of sexuality. It's a beautiful thing, but also there are many things that we need to be careful about. Sexuality has been very taboo generally. And like one example I also want to share is so if you lose a baby, this is also sometimes a taboo topic, a miscarriage. But I was in a situation where I had to share about it because I was quite far on in the pregnancy. I had already told everyone, and then we lost the baby. But this was of course a painful experience, but it was also a very bonding experience with all the people that I shared. And it was also amazing. Like, I was really amazed that, like, some mothers, even though I wouldn't exactly call them close friends, I shared with them, yeah, I actually lost the baby.
Mm.
They would like get tears in their eyes, and I was just really moved by their emotions and the connection that they felt like with my pregnancy even. And so, yeah, I'm just thinking that these kind of taboo topics that we normally think shouldn't be shared about, that we also need to find someone to talk to about those.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we have our digital platform, Mom's Village, and that serves to some extent, but the idea is for that to translate into friends that you have in person friends, ideally, or like a couple of friends, maybe digitally, that you can share with that you really trust deeply. Because certain things you just can't share really in a forum like that where you don't really know the people who are there. And so I really do think that it's important for us to have that close circle of friends as well. But yeah, so like for what you shared, it's beautiful because I, you know, you went through this painful experience, but you found closeness with your friends because they could empathize with what you went through. And I think that we as mothers, we share so many things, like we have so many things in common that bonds us, but we don't really understand the sisterhood that we have in motherhood until we share our experiences and really see how that's received. But I think, yeah, it's a beautiful experience to be a mom and to know that okay, you're in the sisterhood of motherhood now. Like we're in this together in a way. Like yeah, and certain things are difficult and other things are beautiful.
I think it depends a little bit on the person because some people feel more at ease in sharing with strangers rather than with their close family, right? And so it's again how important it is to tune into yourself to really be aware so that you don't share in the wrong places. And there are no objective like right or wrong places many times. I mean, sometimes obviously, but I feel like you really have to pause, get to like ask yourselves this question, like who do I feel comfortable sharing with about this? And if you have no one, then it's important to build your way up so you can find someone to share with. Because that's it's it's important to have somebody to share, that's for sure. So yeah, it's just very individual, I feel, as a process.
Yeah, like what you said, if I understood right, the Mom's Village is to practice the genuine experiences of sharing so that it translates into your actual close circle in real life in some way. Um, yeah, I think that's really great if we can practice and then also, yeah, get better at just finding those people. Of course, you can keep your internet bonds as well, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think one of my hopes is also that moms can find real deep friends inside the village, right? We don't, the moms who join the village don't always have to share inside the village, right? If you find somebody that you can connect with very well, it's very easy to just get their contact and then call or even meet in person if you're close or there are open opportunities from that as well.
Yeah. And it's just, but realistically speaking, sometimes for moms, it's just so difficult to get the logistics right to
Yeah.
meet in person. Like I've experienced this so many times where it's all set to meet a friend or several friends, but then we just can't meet because a kid gets sick or something happens. And so, yeah. So although it's great with both, but we have the digital space for people to meet on a monthly basis as well as an alternative.
Yeah, that's great. And are your husbands working on making a dad's village or?
I wish
I wish,
dads
yeah.
also dads also need a
Mm.
village. That's very true. Yeah.
I think so too. And we tried in our community in Nuremberg, we tried making a sort of men's evening night where whoever wanted to can come and share online. And not so many came. And it was interesting because I feel like the majority that actually did come were Italian. And I just wonder, like, I think that's also kind of maybe also just a part of the culture you grow up in. Like, how much do you open up yourself and how
Yeah.
much is that accepted from your perspective or the perspective of the culture you grow up in? Yeah, that was
Yeah,
interesting.
it's probably the way that this meetup is set, because if you organize a how do you call this, a board game evening for dads, there'll be 50 people coming up, and maybe topics will come up as well while playing. But I think if you ask men to come and sit and share, it's not as appealing for them. Women would jump at that occasion, but at that opportunity. But yeah, it's a bit, different mindsets, I think. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Like, I think if an activity is involved, then it's more likely for men to show up. My
Sports or
my
yeah.
husband, he actually, this was a couple of years ago, he organized a workshop called Man Up, specifically for men. And it was like in the countryside, in the woods, and
Mm.
I think they went hunting maybe, or like what's it called when you shoot with bow and arrow? Archery, and like different sporting elements, but then also they had these circles or like discussions. So I think that, yeah, that might be a good setup.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. But yeah, I think yeah, just the labeling because of all these stereotypical thoughts of yeah, men don't share
Mm.
or things like that. But yeah, to just give them the place and then they can choose whether they open up or not.
Mm.
That's a good idea. Yeah, so I think we can wrap up, but I really hope that all of the parents listening, both mom and dad, can feel motivated to share more and really find people that they can open up to and build up your community of sharing because it's hard to parent alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, both of you, Deborah and Linda.
Thank you
Thank
so
you for the
much for having us.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you all of the best with Mom's Village and yeah, maybe you guys can start your own podcast. Is that also an idea?
It is part of Mom's Village actually already. Me
Ah,
and
okay.
Linda talking about our experiences in motherhood. So we have already a little bit something set up, yeah.
It's called
Okay.
Thriving Moms Podcast,
Mhm.
but it's, yeah, inside the membership. But right now, we've, like yesterday, we did it publicly for the first time. And yeah, we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, very exciting. Wish you all the best
Thank you.
and see you another time. Bye.
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 Play it, pause it, post it, click it, and share it.